Introduction. Most people live their entire lives believing that achievement is reserved for someone else. Someone smarter. Someone luckier. Someone born in a better place, with better resources, better connections, or fewer problems. This belief quietly shapes decisions, limits effort, and slowly convinces capable people to settle for less than what they are truly capable of becoming. This book exists to break that belief. How to achieve anything is not about pretending life is fair. It is not about ignoring struggle or denying hardship. It is about understanding one powerful truth. Achievement is not owned by a certain class of people. It is built by those who learn how to think, act, endure, and grow when conditions are imperfect. Achievement is not an event. It is a process of becoming. Every outcome you admire in others is the visible surface of an invisible internal journey. Long before results appear, a person has already made thousands of quiet decisions. Decisions to show up when they felt tired. Decisions to continue when progress was slow. Decisions to believe in themselves when doubt was louder than hope. This book is written for the person who feels something more inside them. The one who senses unused potential. The one who knows they were not created merely to survive days, but to build something meaningful with their life. If you are reading this, chances are you have already tried to change before. You may have set goals. You may have promised yourself that this time would be different. You may have felt inspired, motivated, even unstoppable for a short while. And then, life happened. Old habits returned. Fear resurfaced. Discipline faded. And slowly, quietly, you found yourself back where you started, wondering why change never lasts. This experience does not mean you are weak. It means you were never taught how achievement truly works. Most people are taught to focus on results, not identity. They chase success without becoming someone capable of sustaining it. They want confidence without building competence. They want freedom without mastering discipline. They want achievement without discomfort. That approach always fails. This book takes a different path. Instead of asking, "What do I want to achieve?" it asks a deeper question. Who must I become to achieve it? Because once you become the right person, results follow naturally. Achievement is not about force. It is about alignment. When your habits, mindset, standards, and identity align with your goals, progress becomes inevitable. This book is emotional because achievement is emotional. Every goal you care about is tied to fear, hope, pride, shame, love, and self-worth. Ignoring the emotional side of growth is why most plans fail. This book is informative because clarity eliminates confusion. When you understand why you behave the way you do, change stops feeling mysterious and starts feeling manageable. This book is motivating not through hype, but through truth. Motivation rooted in reality lasts longer than motivation built on excitement. You will not be asked to believe in impossible fantasies. You will be asked to believe in your ability to improve gradually, consistently, and honestly. Achievement does not require perfection. It requires commitment. It requires the willingness to act even when confidence is missing. It requires patience when results are delayed. It requires courage when fear is present. Most importantly, it requires responsibility. Responsibility is the moment you stop blaming circumstances and start shaping outcomes. It is the moment you accept that while you may not control everything that happens to you, you always control how you respond. This moment is where power begins. When you take responsibility, excuses lose their grip. When excuses disappear, action becomes possible. When action becomes consistent, achievement becomes inevitable. This book will guide you through that process. It will help you understand how discipline is built, not forced, how confidence is earned, not imagined, how focus is trained, not wished for, how resilience is developed, not inherited. You will learn why motivation fades and how to continue without it. You will learn how to break cycles of self-sabotage. You will learn how to build momentum from small actions. You will learn how to stay committed when no one is watching. Most importantly, you will learn how to trust yourself again. Self-trust is the foundation of all achievement. When you trust yourself, you stop overthinking. When you trust yourself, you stop seeking constant reassurance. When you trust yourself, you move forward even when the path is unclear. This book is written in a natural spoken rhythm, so it can be used for listening as well as reading. It is meant to feel human, not mechanical, honest, not exaggerated. There is no need to rush. Achievement is not built in a day, and understanding it should not be either. As you move through these pages, reflect honestly. Where have you been avoiding responsibility? Where have you been waiting instead of acting? Where have you been negotiating with your potential instead of committing to it? You do not need to change everything at once. You only need to begin. And beginning does not require confidence. It requires courage. The courage to start before you feel ready. The courage to continue when it feels difficult. The courage to become someone you have never been before. If you are willing to give that courage, this book will give you direction. This is not a promise of an easy journey. It is a promise of a possible one. And it starts now. Chapter 1. They think successful people wake up inspired, fearless, and certain about their path. This belief is comforting because it allows them to wait. It allows them to delay action until they feel ready. But this belief is also the reason so many lives remain smaller than they were meant to be. Achievement does not begin with motivation. It begins with responsibility. Responsibility is not a popular word. It feels heavy. It removes excuses. It forces honesty. And honesty is uncomfortable when you have been avoiding it. But responsibility is also the doorway to power. Until you take full ownership of your life, you will always feel slightly powerless, no matter how much potential you have. Many people misunderstand responsibility as self-blame. They think taking responsibility means beating themselves up for past mistakes. That is not responsibility. That is punishment. True responsibility is calm, clear, and forward-focused. It says, "This is where I am. This is what I have. And from here, I choose to move." If you want to achieve anything meaningful, you must stop asking who failed you and start asking what you will do next. You may not be responsible for how you were raised. You may not be responsible for the opportunities you missed. You may not be responsible for the obstacles placed in your path. But you are always responsible for your response, and your response shapes your future more than any external condition ever will. Most people give their power away without realizing it. They hand it to circumstances, to other people, to timing, to luck. They say things like, "If only I had more support," or "If only I had more confidence," or "If only things were different." These statements feel harmless, but they slowly train the mind to wait instead of act. Waiting is the silent killer of potential. There is no perfect time. There is no moment when fear disappears completely. There is no day when you suddenly feel ready. Readiness is not a feeling. It is a decision. Every person who has achieved something meaningful started before they felt prepared. They started with doubt in their mind and fear in their chest. The difference is that they did not let those emotions decide their behavior. The truth is uncomfortable, but freeing. No one is coming to save you. No one will knock on your door and hand you the life you want. No one will care about your goals as deeply as you must. This is not cruel. This is reality, and accepting reality is the first step toward changing it. When you fully accept responsibility, excuses lose their power. Complaining becomes pointless, and something inside you shifts from passive to active. You stop asking why life is hard and start asking how you will handle it. This shift is where achievement is born. Another reason people fail to achieve their goals is emotional resistance. You can know exactly what to do and still avoid doing it. This is not because you are lazy or incapable. It is because the human brain is designed to avoid discomfort. Discomfort feels dangerous to the nervous system, even when it is not. Growth requires uncertainty, effort, and vulnerability, so the brain resists it. That resistance shows up as procrastination, distraction, overthinking, and self-doubt. Most people fight these behaviors on the surface. They try to force themselves to be productive. They rely on motivation. They wait to feel inspired. This approach never lasts. The solution is not to eliminate discomfort. The solution is to change your relationship with it. Discomfort is not a signal to stop. It is a signal that you are doing something new, something unfamiliar, something that matters. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you strengthen the habit of avoidance. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you strengthen self-trust. Over time, these small choices shape identity. Identity is powerful. It determines how you act when no one is watching. It determines what you tolerate, what you avoid, and what you pursue. You do not become confident by repeating affirmations. You become confident by keeping promises to yourself. You do not become disciplined by wishing for willpower. You become disciplined by showing up even when you don't feel like it. Achievement is built through consistency, not intensity. Most people fail because they try to change everything at once. They set unrealistic expectations and rely on emotional energy. When that energy fades, they quit and conclude that something is wrong with them. Nothing is wrong with you. Your approach was wrong. Real progress comes from small, non-negotiable actions done daily. One focused hour, one difficult conversation, one disciplined decision. These actions may feel insignificant in the moment, but they compound. Compounding is invisible at first. This is where most people quit. They mistake lack of immediate results for lack of progress. They do not realize that growth happens quietly before it becomes visible. Patience is not passive waiting. It is active endurance. It is continuing to act even when results are delayed. To achieve anything, you must become comfortable with delayed gratification. You must learn to invest effort now for rewards later. Temporary comfort feels good now and costs you later. Meaningful effort feels uncomfortable now and rewards you later. Achievement always follows the second path. There will be days when doubt feels louder than belief. Days when you question your ability. Days when you feel behind, tired, and discouraged. These moments are not signs that you should stop. They are signs that you are stretching beyond your old limits. On those days, do not aim to feel confident. Aim to remain consistent. Confidence is built after action, not before it. Every time you act despite doubt, something inside you strengthens. You may not feel it immediately, but over time, you stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who finishes. This is the foundation of achievement. You do not need perfection. You do not need permission. You do not need certainty. You need responsibility. Once you take full ownership of your life, everything else becomes learnable. Skills can be developed, habits can be built, confidence can be earned. But nothing happens until responsibility is accepted. That is where the journey begins. More freedom, more respect, more stability, more meaning. Desire is common. Discipline is rare. And that difference explains almost every gap you see between where people are and where they want to be. Discipline is not a personality trait. It is not something you are born with or without. It is a skill. And like any skill, it is built through practice, not motivation. Most people wait to feel disciplined before they act. They tell themselves they will start when they feel ready, focused, or inspired. This waiting quietly destroys progress. Discipline does not come before action. It is created by action. Discipline is the ability to do what needs to be done regardless of how you feel in the moment. Feelings are unstable. They change with sleep, stress, weather, and mood. If your progress depends on how you feel, it will always be inconsistent. If your progress depends on what you have decided, it becomes reliable. This is why discipline is freedom. People often think discipline restricts life. They imagine it as a rigid, joyless existence. In reality, the opposite is true. Discipline removes chaos. It reduces anxiety. It creates structure. And structure creates freedom. When you know what you will do each day, you stop wasting energy on decision-making. When you stop negotiating with yourself, you gain clarity. When clarity appears, effort becomes easier. Undisciplined lives feel heavy. Disciplined lives feel lighter. The reason discipline feels difficult at first is because it demands short-term discomfort for long-term gain. The human brain prefers immediate comfort. That preference is not a flaw. It is survival programming. But survival is not the same as achievement. To achieve anything beyond basic survival, you must train yourself to override comfort-based decisions. This training starts small. Most people fail because they aim too high too fast. They set extreme routines, unrealistic schedules, and rigid rules. When they inevitably fail, they interpret it as proof that they lack discipline. They don't lack discipline, they lack patience. Discipline grows when you make promises you can keep, not promises that sound impressive. One simple action done daily is more powerful than a perfect plan done occasionally. If you want to write every day even if it's only a few sentences. If you want to get fit, move your body every day even if it's brief. If you want to learn, study daily, even if progress feels slow. Consistency builds identity. Identity sustains discipline. Once you begin to see yourself as someone who shows up, discipline stops feeling forced. It becomes natural. Another misunderstanding about discipline is that it requires intensity. People believe they must push themselves brutally to succeed. This belief leads to burnout. Discipline is not about being harsh with yourself. It is about being honest with yourself. There will be days when you are tired, days when you are emotionally drained. Discipline on those days does not mean maximum effort. It means minimum consistency. It means doing enough to maintain momentum. Momentum is fragile. Once broken, it is difficult to rebuild. Discipline protects momentum. High achievers are not extreme every day. They are steady every day. They understand that life includes low-energy days, difficult seasons, and emotional turbulence. Discipline adapts instead of collapsing. Another key element of discipline is environment. Most people try to rely on willpower alone. Willpower is limited. Environment is powerful. If distractions are always within reach, discipline will always be tested. If temptation surrounds you, resistance becomes exhausting. Disciplined people design their environment to support their goals. They remove unnecessary friction for good habits and increase friction for bad ones. This is not weakness. It is wisdom. If you want to focus, reduce distractions. If you want to eat better, make healthy options visible. If you want to sleep earlier, change your nighttime environment. You are not meant to fight your environment constantly. You are meant to shape it. Another overlooked aspect of discipline is self-talk. The way you speak to yourself during difficulty matters. Harsh self-criticism weakens discipline. It creates emotional resistance. Supportive but firm self-talk strengthens it. Instead of saying, "I'm lazy," say, "I'm learning consistency." Instead of saying, "I failed," say, "I'm adjusting." Instead of saying, "I can't," say, "I'm practicing." Language shapes behavior. Discipline also requires boundaries. You cannot say yes to everything and still achieve anything meaningful. Every yes is a no to something else. Disciplined people choose their yes intentionally. They protect their time. They protect their energy. They protect their focus. This does not mean isolation. It means prioritization. Another challenge people face with discipline is comparison. They compare their beginning to someone else's middle. This creates discouragement and impatience. Your pace is not wrong. Your path is not invalid. Discipline is personal. It adapts to your life, not someone else's highlight reel. The only comparison that matters is between who you were yesterday and who you are becoming today. Discipline also involves forgiveness. Not the kind that excuses quitting, but the kind that allows recovery. You will miss days. You will make mistakes. You will fall short sometimes. What matters is not perfection. What matters is returning quickly. The faster you return, the stronger discipline becomes. Guilt keeps people stuck. Responsibility moves them forward. Achievement does not require superhuman effort. It requires human consistency. Discipline is not dramatic. It is quiet. It is boring at times. It happens when no one is watching. That is why it works. Over time, discipline creates trust within yourself. When you trust yourself, anxiety decreases. When anxiety decreases, clarity increases. When clarity increases, action becomes easier. This is how discipline transforms life. Not overnight. Not magically. But inevitably. Discipline turns dreams into schedules. Schedules into habits. Habits into identity. Identity into results. If responsibility was the beginning of power, discipline is the engine that carries you forward. Without discipline, desire remains fantasy. With discipline, anything becomes possible. When discipline becomes part of who you are, achievement stops feeling like a struggle and starts feeling like a direction. And once direction is clear, progress is only a matter of time. Almost every goal that matters will awaken fear. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of wasting time. Fear of discovering your limits. This fear is not a flaw in your character. It is a sign that you are standing at the edge of growth. Most people believe fear means stop. That belief keeps them small. Fear does not mean you are incapable. It means you are about to do something unfamiliar. The human mind is designed to protect you from uncertainty, not to help you reach your potential. That is why fear feels so convincing. It speaks in your own voice. It sounds logical. It lists risks. It reminds you of past failures. It asks you to wait just a little longer. Waiting feels safe. But safety rarely leads to achievement. Every meaningful achievement requires walking forward while fear walks with you. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the decision to act despite it. Most people try to eliminate fear before they begin. They tell themselves they will start when they feel confident. Confidence never arrives first. Confidence is built after repeated action. Those who wait for confidence wait forever. Fear shrinks through exposure. The more you avoid what scares you, the larger fear becomes. The more you face it, the smaller it feels. This is not theory. It is how the nervous system learns. Fear survives in imagination. It weakens in experience. Another internal enemy of achievement is doubt. Doubt is quieter than fear but more corrosive. Fear screams. Doubt whispers. It says, "What if you're not good enough? What if this doesn't work? What if you waste years and fail anyway?" Doubt does not require answers. It requires action. Trying to think your way out of doubt rarely works. Thinking feeds doubt. Action starves it. Each small action provides evidence. Evidence slowly dismantles doubt. Over time, doubt loses authority. Many people sabotage themselves by demanding certainty. They want guarantees. They want proof before commitment. Life does not offer guarantees. Achievement demands faith in action. Faith does not mean blind optimism. It means trusting that effort will teach you what thinking cannot. Fear and doubt are strongest when progress is invisible. Early stages are lonely. There is no applause, no recognition, no validation. This silence causes many people to quit. They confuse silence with failure. Silence is simply the phase where roots grow before results appear. If you quit too early, you never see what you are becoming. Another hidden resistance is identity conflict. When you try to grow, you challenge the version of yourself you are familiar with. Growth feels like loss. You are letting go of old habits, old excuses, old narratives. The mind resists this. It prefers the familiar, even if it is painful. You may say you want change, but part of you fears who you will become if you succeed. Success carries responsibility, visibility, higher standards. That responsibility can feel intimidating. Achievement requires you to accept a new identity. This is why progress often feels emotionally uncomfortable. You are outgrowing an old self. When fear appears, do not argue with it. Do not suppress it. Acknowledge it and move anyway. Fear does not need to disappear for progress to happen. Your job is not to feel fearless. Your job is to remain committed. Another mistake people make is interpreting emotional discomfort as danger. Growth discomfort is different from harm. Learning to distinguish the two is crucial. Harm drains you without purpose. Growth challenges you with meaning. You will feel tired sometimes. You will feel unsure. These feelings are not signs to stop. They are signs to pace yourself, not abandon the path. Achievement is not about pushing endlessly. It is about continuing intelligently. Self-compassion matters here. Harsh self-talk weakens resilience. Calm firmness strengthens it. Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping, not someone you are punishing. There will be moments when fear tells you to retreat. In those moments, narrow your focus. Do not think about the entire journey. Think about the next step only. Fear feeds on overwhelm. Progress feeds on simplicity. One step taken consistently defeats endless planning. Over time, something powerful happens. Fear stops controlling your decisions. It still exists, but it no longer leads. You lead. This is emotional mastery. Achievement belongs to those who master their internal world before trying to conquer the external one. When fear and doubt no longer dictate your behavior, your potential expands rapidly. Not because fear disappeared, but because you learned how to move with it. That is the difference between those who dream and those who achieve. Chapter 4. Focus, Distraction, and the Battle for Your Mind. Achievement is not limited by intelligence or talent as often as it is limited by attention. In a world full of noise, the ability to focus has become a rare and powerful skill. Most people are not failing because they lack ability. They are failing because their attention is constantly divided. Focus is the ability to give your full presence to one thing at a time. It sounds simple, yet it has become incredibly difficult. Notifications, messages, endless content, and constant comparison fragment the mind. When the mind is fragmented, effort is scattered. When effort is scattered, progress slows. To achieve anything meaningful, you must learn how to protect your attention. Distraction is not harmless. It slowly trains your brain to avoid depth. It teaches the mind to seek novelty instead of mastery. Over time, this creates restlessness, impatience, and dissatisfaction. You may be busy all day and still feel unproductive. You may consume information endlessly and still feel stuck. This happens because information is not transformation. Attention applied consistently is. Most people underestimate how much progress they could make if they simply focused on one important thing per day, not 10 things. Not multitasking, one thing done with full presence. Focus multiplies effort. 1 hour of deep focus is worth several hours of distracted work. The problem is that focus feels uncomfortable at first. When you remove distractions, the mind becomes restless. Thoughts surface, doubts appear. Boredom arises. Many people interpret this discomfort as a sign that something is wrong. In reality, it is a sign that your mind is detoxing from constant stimulation. The mind, like the body, adapts to what it consumes. If it is used to constant input, silence feels unsettling. But silence is where clarity grows. To regain focus, you must first accept boredom. Boredom is not an enemy. It is the gateway to depth. When you sit with boredom instead of escaping it, the mind begins to settle. Creativity emerges. Insight deepens. Focus strengthens. This is why so many people avoid stillness. Stillness forces awareness. Awareness reveals avoidance. Achievement requires you to face what you usually distract yourself from. Another reason focus is difficult is emotional avoidance. People often distract themselves not because they are lazy, but because focused work brings them face to face with self-doubt. When you focus deeply, you become aware of your limitations. This can feel threatening to the ego. Distraction becomes a shield. To achieve anything, you must be willing to see yourself clearly without distraction. This clarity is uncomfortable, but it is also empowering. When you see where you are weak, you know where to grow. Focus also requires intention. If you do not decide what deserves your attention, everything will demand it. The world will gladly consume your time if you let it. High achievers are intentional about where their attention goes. They choose their priorities before the day begins. They do not let urgency replace importance. Urgent things feel loud. Important things often feel quiet. If you spend all your time reacting, you will never build anything meaningful. Another key to focus is mental boundaries. Just as you set boundaries with people, you must set boundaries with your thoughts. Not every thought deserves attention. Not every worry deserves analysis. The mind produces thoughts constantly. Your job is not to believe them all. Your job is to choose which ones guide your actions. When self-doubt appears, acknowledge it without engaging it. Return to the task. When anxiety arises, ground yourself in action. Focus on what you can control now. Focus is built by repeatedly returning attention to the present moment. This skill improves with practice. You do not need perfect focus. You need trained focus. Trained focus wanders less and returns faster. Environment matters here as well. You cannot expect focus in an environment designed for distraction. Small changes make a big difference. Silence notifications. Create a dedicated workspace. Reduce visual clutter. These are not minor details. They are strategic decisions. Your environment either supports your goals or competes with them. Another enemy of focus is overconsumption. Consuming too much content creates mental noise. You may feel informed, but clarity suffers. Depth requires space. Achievement requires periods of input and periods of output. Many people stay stuck in input mode. They read, watch, and listen, but rarely apply. Application creates progress. Consumption without application creates illusion. If you want to focus better, consume less and create more. Focus also improves when your goals are clear. Vague goals produce vague effort. Clear goals focus attention naturally. Ask yourself often, what matters most right now? Not what feels urgent. Not what is easy. What matters most? Then give that thing your best attention. You may feel resistance. You may feel restless. That is normal. Stay anyway. Focus is a form of self-respect. It is the decision to honor your potential by giving it your attention. Over time, focused effort builds momentum. Momentum builds confidence. Confidence builds clarity. Clarity simplifies decisions. This is how focus transforms achievement. Not through intensity, but through consistency. When you master focus, you gain control over one of the most powerful forces in your life, your mind. And when you control your mind, achievement stops feeling overwhelming and starts feeling manageable. Chapter 5. Habits, Consistency, and the Quiet Power of Daily Momentum. Achievement is rarely the result of a single decision. It is the outcome of thousands of small choices repeated over time. This is why habits matter more than goals. Goals give direction, but habits determine movement. Without the right habits, even the strongest goals collapse under inconsistency. Most people think habits are boring. They underestimate them because habits do not feel dramatic. They do not create instant transformation, but habits are powerful precisely because they work quietly. They shape your life while you are busy living it. Your habits are always working, whether you pay attention to them or not. They are either moving you closer to what you want or further away from it. Consistency is not about perfection. It is about return. You will miss days. You will break routines. Life will interrupt. The difference between those who achieve and those who don't is not who never fails, but who returns faster. Every habit is a vote for the person you are becoming. When you repeat an action, you reinforce an identity. When that identity becomes familiar, behavior follows naturally. This is why forcing change through willpower rarely lasts. Willpower is temporary. Identity is durable. If you want lasting achievement, focus on becoming the kind of person who does the work, not someone who occasionally tries. Many people make the mistake of building habits based on outcomes instead of process. They say things like, "I want to lose weight," or I want to be successful, or I want confidence. These outcomes are too vague to guide daily behavior. Habits thrive on clarity. Instead of focusing on what you want to achieve, focus on what you will do daily. Small actions are easier to repeat. Repetition creates consistency. Consistency creates momentum. Momentum is powerful. Once you have it, effort feels lighter. Without it, everything feels harder. This is why starting is often the hardest part. To build momentum, your habits must be small enough to be sustainable. Ambition often leads people to overcommit. They try to change everything at once. When they fail, they feel discouraged and quit. This pattern is not a failure of character. It is a failure of strategy. The goal of a habit is not to impress. It is to persist. Start smaller than you think you should. Make the habit so easy that resistance has no excuse. Over time, you can expand it. But first, you must stabilize it. Another key to habit formation is consistency of context. Doing an action at the same time or place each day makes it easier. The brain associates the environment with the behavior. You do not rise to the level of your intentions. You fall to the level of your systems. Systems remove reliance on motivation. They create automatic progress. Habits also require patience. The early phase feels unrewarding. Results lag behind effort. This delay causes many people to quit. They expect immediate feedback. When it doesn't come, they assume the habit is not working. Habits work in the background. The effect compounds quietly. One day, the change becomes visible. By then, the habit feels natural. This is why many people are surprised by sudden success. It is not sudden. It is delayed. Another obstacle to consistency is emotional fluctuation. Some days you feel strong. Other days you feel exhausted. Habits must survive both. On low-energy days, lower the intensity, not the consistency. Do something small instead of nothing. Protect the streak. Continuity matters more than performance. Self-respect grows when you keep promises to yourself, even small ones. Another important aspect of habits is alignment. Your habits must match your values. If they don't, resistance increases. When you understand why a habit matters, it becomes easier to maintain. Ask yourself why this habit matters beyond outcomes. What kind of person does it help you become? How does it shape your character? Achievement is not just about results. It is about who you become while pursuing them. Habits also reveal self-honesty. They expose where you are inconsistent. Instead of judging yourself, observe patterns. Awareness is the first step to improvement. Do not aim for a perfect routine. Aim for a reliable one. Over time, habits free mental energy. When actions become automatic, decision fatigue decreases. This frees attention for creativity, problem-solving, and growth. This is why disciplined lives feel lighter. They require fewer decisions. Another powerful aspect of habits is stacking. Attach a new habit to an existing one. This reduces resistance and increases success. The brain likes continuity. Habits are easier to maintain when they fit naturally into your life. Achievement is built through long-term momentum. Momentum is not dramatic. It is steady. It is reliable. It is patient. Small actions repeated daily outperform large actions done rarely. When you understand this, you stop chasing motivation and start building systems. This is the quiet power behind every great achievement. When habits support your goals, progress becomes inevitable. You may not feel different day to day, but months later, you will realize you are no longer the same person. And that is how achievement truly happens.